quiet
I take that
in my whole
personally.
life. Yeah, I was like, I am
Mm-hmm.
not quiet.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my kid had been in here playing with my settings, and I didn't realize it. So
Oh, you bring them to your spot?
I bring Emerson sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So like every now and then, like I'll come in on a Saturday morning or something like that. Emerson will come chill. There's like a whole area on the other side of the camera
Oh, okay.
that's like, I mean, it's like set up for like music and stuff like that. But there's like a whole like corner that's hers. It's got her chair, her blanket
Oh,
and pillow,
sweet.
like a big comfy blanket and pillow, and she'll come and watch
Nice.
the iPad or read books or whatever. Yeah.
Nice.
But she will also come on, like she has to talk into the mic for at least a couple of minutes. And
Mm.
if I'm not watching, she will definitely twist knobs.
So yeah, speaking of, I told you the story behind our current rental, right? Or did I not?
I don't think so. Tell me.
So, so we were the price, the place prior to this. The guy said he was going to increase the rent to quote unquote market rate. Um, we were paying 20, so this would have been about almost 2 years ago. We were paying 2,700, 2,700, 2,600, and then he was like, "Yeah, I'm increasing it to 3,300." I'm like, "Okay." So the house that we're living in now, we I helped this buyer buy this house. So this is a crazy story. So when we were getting like 30 offers and things are going pending in, 7 hours, like that time, right?
Yeah.
The house across the street, Sue and Charles Depp, right? You remember them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they listed a house in the parks, and I shot it, dude. I kid you not. That thing had like 30 people in the house every hour when they were doing the open house, and I think they ended up getting like 17 offers or something, and and it was listed for 1.2. It went for 1.7, right?
So crazy.
So check it.
Because of your pictures,
Obviously, right?
obviously.
Obviously, I mean, we're gonna talk about how overpriced house can't be fixed by great marketing, but if it's my marketing, I feel like it fixes it all, right?
100%.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So fast forward a couple weeks, Sue and Charles comes in the studio for their session, and they're like, "Yeah, like we just got a call from the house across the street, and the guy wants to sell it off market." And it's not. It wasn't even like they were asking me if I knew anybody. We were just talking about it. But I happened to have a buyer that was looking for a long-term rental property, right? So I was like, huh, interesting. So the guy was looking more in Redmond, but I'm like, dude, like this could be a great opportunity. So same layout as the house across the street, the one that sold for 1.7.
Yeah.
Guess how much we got this for?
I feel like it's going to be less than 1.7, 1.4.
I told you this before.
No.
We
Maybe.
we we got it for 1.4.
Love that.
So the house across the street, same house, sold for 1.7 and closed 6 weeks ago, right? And if you're getting this house at 1.4, like that's a steal, right?
Yeah. You
That
stole
that that
$300,000. Yeah.
that should be a steal. So he got it, and he started kind of fixing it up, because he was gonna, rent it and stuff. 2 months goes by, and he does all these renovations and whatnot, um, you know, and we get a call, and he's like, "I think I want to sell it." I'm like, you've only had it for, and the timing of this was the late spring of 2022 is when we bought it. And what happened summer of 2022?
Yeah, a little dippy poo.
Not a little.
Well, little for
Everything
us.
fell apart. Yep. So long story short, he gets it for 1.4. puts in another 100K doing whatever remodel. And we put it on the market for 1.6 and it didn't go.
Yeah.
Well, we started off at 1.65 and it didn't go. And the highest offer we got was like 1.2, 1.3. So it's like selling's not an option. So I was like, why don't we then just live there? We'll take care of the house. And that's how we ended up here.
And it was renting for 30 or how much?
So the fair market rate would have been close to like 3,800.
All right, let me just do something real quick. Okay, 3,800 times 12. It's 45.6 a year. 45.6 a year divided by. Actually, we'll go 1.4. 45,600. That's a fucking 30-year return, cash on cash, and that does not even include mortgage costs and all that. That's a crazy low cap rate.
Well,
I don't know how anybody buys rentals in Seattle.
Well, keep in mind, like it was supposed to be a long-term, like cash flow thing. Oh, by the way, we bought it 1.4 cash.
Yeah.
Sorry, forgot to say that.
Still, though, I mean, like that's such a long return. Like even just do that math, right? 45K a year in rent into 1.4 million takes 30 years to get your money back.
Well, you got to consider, again, at that time, you got to consider appreciation.
No, I get it. It's not a value add.
And it's 1.4 million that was sitting in money market, right?
Yeah. He could have bought some houses in Memphis, though.
Well,
you could buy a whole ass portfolio for 1.4.
So anyways, long story short, that's how it happened. So we did a 1 year we did a 1-and-1. So it's a 2 year, but second year it was our option. So a year goes by, he's like, I think I want to sell it. But I'm like, wait a minute. Like, the second year option is on me. Unfortunately, like, we kind of want to keep living here. But then I negotiated. Our lease is November. It ends in November, right? So I'm like, okay, when our second year is up, November, that's going to be tough to sell, right? So I negotiated, okay, like, we'll leave at the end of July. Let's reduce the rent a little bit. And that's where we're sitting now.
So have you guys found your next place?
Yes.
Where at? Philly?
Across the street.
In the other one that sold for 1.7?
No, not that close.
Not even full circle right there.
Across the big street to the other side.
Got you.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit smaller. But we're gonna peel out one of the rooms in the preschool and then turn that into my studio.
Oh, okay, very cool.
Yeah, so there's gonna be some setup happening. So anyways, all this to say, incredible marketing can't fix overpriced listings. True or false?
No, no, it can't. It cannot.
Right.
It cannot.
And
though, if they're underpriced, it can drive up a little something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Without mentioning names, I have couple of listings that are on the market, and obviously, you know, it's a little high, right? So, what if you don't get any showings? Other than price, is there any reason why you're not even getting showings?
Bad marketing. I mean, bad pictures. I'll never forget. We were out in Issaquah. There's like Timber. Is it like Timber Ridge or Timber? It's something Timber. In Issaquah, there's like all these townhouses out there.
Like kind of like on the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Like on the like past the town center.
Yeah.
Like on the way to up the plateau. Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was helping somebody buy a house, and I want to say, I mean, it was a lower price. It was in the 200s. Um, but we're helping them find a townhome. They find one that they really love. It's well priced. It's got beautiful pictures. It's in the height of the market. It's going to be a bloodbath, right? But I noticed in doing my research for the offer that there is an exact replica in the next building over. I mean, it's the
Mm-hmm.
same. It's the same like 1, 2, 3 from the end, and it's the same left right layout. It's the same flooring. These aren't very old at this point, right? Like it's like a 7 year old. There's been no renovations. It's kept up the same. There's only one difference. This one's been on the market for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible pictures, like terrible handheld pictures. The owner had used like a for sale by owner on the MLS site, right? And so like to even do an offer to them, you've got to reach out to them, and then they're like, okay,
Right.
here's the guy's information. You've got to go directly to him. That kind of thing. I end up basically doing both sides of the deal, but I get it
Mm-hmm.
at list price while that other one goes for 30,000 more. And so that guy lost $30,000 because he didn't want to pay an agent to do
Mm.
pictures, or didn't even want to pay a photographer to do pictures
Right.
if he'd have just done that. So, if you have no showings, yeah, it's very possible that your house doesn't present well online. Like if you make it look like, I mean, another way to like phrase it is if you got a cemetery in the backyard and that's your front picture, you're gonna have
Mm-hmm.
a very few showings, and the showings you have, you might not want. There's some weird people out there. That'd be
Mm.
my thought process. But
Right.
you're right.
Right.
It can cover a multitude of sins, but too high a price is that's a tough one, man.
Is it do you think the buyer pool sentiment is kind of like, oh, that's overpriced, so I don't even want to see it. You know what I mean?
I think, especially in coastal and tier one city markets,
Mm-hmm.
or any city that's experiencing renaissance, I guess would be a better way to say it. Like, so any hot city, I think buyers think of it this way. And this is what I used to tell my customers too. I used to tell my clients, if your budget's $800,000, you should be looking at 650 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to find some that are a little bit more expensive than what you're looking for in your price range. And you're going to have to go up. And I think a lot of buyers think that way. A lot of buyers know, oh, things go in Seattle for an extra 10%, 20%. And so they're not looking, for properties that are even priced correctly. I think the best pricing strategy in a super hot market is the price low and let it drive activity. You know, I
Right.
love being an agent and going, listen, I got 10 other offers. Let me give you a hint as to where you need to even start to be
Right.
competitive.
But most people don't have the guts to, the biggest fear is, oh, what if I only get one offer and it's at asking, right?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to take it. Here should be the worst fear, and this is what I tell customers. The worst thing that can happen actually is this. Let's say you're at a $1.2 million house, and that's the fair market value. Let's say you price it at 1.2, bang on. But people don't come see it because they're like, there's going to be another bidding war and I can't afford more than that. Or they look at it and they go, oh, that seems a little higher. Like this one down the street's priced at 1.1, even though it's going to bid up past 1.2. So they never
Mm-hmm.
come see it. And now what happens? What's your option? What's your option when you've priced something too high? Especially if, like let's say it's not 1.2, let's say you price it at 1.3. Oh, well, I can always come down in price. We can always come down to meet the market. But the
Oh, that's
problem is
terrible.
the market changes based on perception of your
Right.
individual, completely 100% unique asset. And the very first thing somebody asks in a market with an absorption rate of around 14 days or 21 days is, why has that been on the market for 40 days and what's wrong with it?
Right.
What's wrong with it? First question asked if something doesn't sell the first weekend. Your home's worth less now in every buyer's mind. They're not going to be out here going, oh, goody, I get to pay market rent or not market rent, but market value. They're going to be like, something's up with it. Let's go take a look. Yeah, let's see if we can get it for 1.1. That's what's going to happen.
you only get one chance at a first impression.
That's it. Or you can fire your agent, wait however many months it is in the Northwest MLS,
Mm-hmm.
and then it comes back on. So
So,
marketing
so
can't sell it for you, but it can certainly tank it for you. That's the takeaway there.
right. So, well, lack thereof,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, so why do homes get listed overpriced?
People think they know better. Also,
Pe-
there is I'm forgetting what it's called. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky did some really interesting studies around how people value things, and people tend to value things that they own more than they would value them if they didn't own them. And so this is
okay.
especially true in something called a house, which is
Mm-hmm.
really not just a house, it's a home. We overvalue things. I mean, listen, man, in my life, in my line of work, I hear it all the time. Well, hold on. What about the one down the street with it's basically the same and they're getting $300,000 for their house. And you have to go back to this person and go, listen, man, they also don't have a hole in the ceiling. There aren't bullet holes in the wall. They're like they did a full renovation and you're still from the 70s. One of these is not like the other.
Right.
And
So,
people have a hard time with that.
so are you saying sellers dictate the list price?
I think a lot of the time in the overprice. The other thing that happens, if it's not the sellers dictating it, which sometimes happen, even good agents get caught with that. Listen, I never turned down a listing. I wish there's some I would have, but I never turned down a listing that was priced too high. Like, I would say, hey, I think we should be here. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what we're going to have to do if I'm right and you're wrong, but it's your choice. Now, I do know agents that'll say, hey, listen, I'm not going to spend my time, effort, energy, and money trying to sell your house at 10% over market. Weirder things have happened, but I don't think this one is happening. But the other thing that happens is some agents prey upon that. It's not good agents. It's not most agents, but some agents will go in and inflate the price by 5 to 10% that they should list that and start pitching pipe dreams just to get the signature on the contract.
So what in your case? What happened to those listings that you took on that you were like is probably overpriced?
I could think of three. Two sold, one didn't.
Mm.
Took the L.
The one in Mount Lake Terrace.
The one in Mount Lake Terrace.
Mm.
Yeah, you did the pictures for that one.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fucking cute ass house.
It
It
sure
was just,
was.
it was a bad time, man. It was like the market had just slumped a little bit. We were trying, I mean, I actually don't think we were overpriced. I think we were at the very top of the market for what it was. But, it was a smaller house in an area with, other houses were running 30% bigger. And so, there's always the calculus of square footage gets more valuable the smaller it is. And so,
But at
we
the end
thought
of
we'd
the
take a shot.
day,
That was my
right?
fault, by the way. I didn't say no on that one. I should have said no.
At the end of the day, though, like market condition or the condition of the building or the location, at the end of the day, it just all comes down to the friggin' price, right?
Amen.
Because you could have a horrible condition house if the price is right. Someone's gonna get it,
Sure.
right?
But you can't set market records or ask
Correct.
for higher
Correct.
in slumping markets. And the fact is, like, every now and then we get these weird slumps. Like, it'll be 3 months and they come out of nowhere. I don't know if it's buyer fatigue. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what it is. But like every now and then you'll be in a hot market for like 18 months. And then out of nowhere, it's like, somebody's waiting around the corner with a baseball bat for you to walk into your next listing and just get pummeled. Shit happens. And
Right.
great agents can see it coming a mile away. The people who are doing 6, 7, 8 listings a month, they see those slumps coming and they avoid them like the plague. But I think most agents get caught by them. But if you like, no matter what the market though, if you are priced well, you will sell. There are always buyers for
Right.
real estate. Period. End of
So
story.
the reason why I came up with this topic is because when you look at overpriced listings, it is generally coming from the seller.
I think so. It's dictated by the
So
seller most of the time.
because if you're an agent and you overpriced it, like you suck at your job, right?
Yeah.
So the bigger question then
Ouch! I did just
becomes,
admit to doing that a couple of times.
well,
Ouch.
I mean, I've done it too. Or well, underpricing could be blessing in disguise because you just didn't know any better and it shot up, right? So then when you have a seller that is insisting on X number of dollars and you're just like, there is no way this is gonna go at that, what do you do? Now, before you
I've never had
answer,
that.
before you answer, I have also experienced the opposite where the agent was like, "Oh, I don't know about that price," and seller insisted, and it went on the market, and multiple offers went over.
Stranger things have this is my favorite saying. Stranger things have happened in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, before I answer your question, when I first got in the business the first year, there was this weird house out in Mount Lake Terrace that was built by some famous architect. Famous in quotes. I'd never heard of him, haven't heard of him since, can't remember the name. But it was like a unique house built by a specific architect. And it was listed for like 800 something thousand. I think it listed for like 850, 860 seems right actually. And it went for 1.6 in a bidding war.
Mm-hmm.
Because two people really wanted this house built by this architect. Weirder things have happened,
Mm-hmm.
and people got more money than sense sometimes. Like sometimes, two people fall in love with the house and they're gonna get in a fight over it.
Like
Like,
right place at the right time,
right
two-year
place at the right.
people.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah. Listen, did you see the Bluey episode?
No.
Okay, bro, it's worth 30 minutes of your life. Go watch the Bluey episode, the one with the house. It's this epic story where Bluey's dad is taking a job somewhere else, the Healers, and he's selling the house, and the whole time they're trying to get him to not sell the house, and the house sells, and they're getting ready to move, and they're packing up, and literally like this chain of events happens with the buyers because they wanted something, I think, with a pool or something like that. And at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the show, they find the perfect house and they want to unwind the contract, right? Like that's
Mm.
like it's this beautiful little like very cute thing. By the way, Zillow did a commercial in response to it with a family of Boston healers or blue healers, and said essentially, it doesn't have to be scary like our favorite children's show to sell your house. Like it was well played. It was very zeitgeisty. But weirder things have happened.
So then,
My
does
answer,
that-
though, to your question is
Mhm.
what do you do? If you know it's not going to sell at that price, you have to upfront agree with the seller what the action steps are and when you take them. Like, I would still list it. I'm not paying for I'm not fronting. I'm not paying for photography or furniture. That's on you. And I'll take a reduced commission. Like even like take that out of my commissions. $2,000 to stage it, $3,000 to stage it, $500 to $1,000 for video and pictures. You pay for that. I'll do the work on the other side. I'll do the reverse, calling, trying to find other agents to get them interested. I'll have somebody host open houses. I'll run some Facebook ads, but I'm not fronting up that cost of, if I don't think it has a chance in hell of selling, no way.
Wait, but what's the difference between you not paying for it but then reducing your commission? Your net is the same.
My net's the same. I will reduce how much I get paid
Mm-hmm.
by the amount that or I'll pay it. Like another way to say it is I'll pay it back at the HUD. Like that'd be another way. So
Got
I'll pay
it.
for it if it sells.
You're still gonna net the same amount though.
Yeah, I'm gonna net the
You're
same.
just not.
I'm just not taking the
immediately
risk.
Out of.
I'm
right.
I'm not taking the risk. And I'll be honest with them. Here's why. Like if we were in the realm of possibility, I'll write that check today, no problem. But if we're way out of bounds, no way. And the other
Okay,
thing is,
so-
I would say here's the plan. You have to agree to it right up front. Like I'm gonna have them sign a document that says on day 15, if we've had less than X amount of showings, automatically the price is going to drop to this. And on day 35, like I would get it all up front in writing. By the way, there's some brilliant guys out there who used to do that. If I can't sell your house, I'll buy it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
how they did that. That's how they did that. They would go, okay, here's the price we're going to start at. You have to agree to their starting price.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the reductions. And once they got to 90% of what they perceived as fair market value, they'd buy it. But I know a guy who sold like 500 houses that way. And he's like, I had to buy one house ever.
Mm.
So great marketing stunt for them.
It's a marketing scheme. But I kind of like what you said, because at the end of the day, you're netting the same.
Yeah. I'll pay for the pictures if it sells. That's on me. That's part of my
Right.
job. That's part of the service I provide. But I'm not going to provide that service up front because I would never charge my clients. That Mount Lake Terrace house, after I staged it and paid for photos, I didn't recoup that cost. That was
Right. So
$3,000 out.
so there might be like two different type of agreement. So there's the agreement we have if you go with my recommended price, because I'm the professional and I know at this price we're going to get it sold.
Yeah.
And then there's one where if you think that, that's all well and good, but you're going to cover the cost of getting everything ready.
Yeah.
I'm still putting in the sweat equity. And when it sells, I will make you whole, Mr. Seller.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll do everything I can. I would even like the other thing you can do is structured commissions.
Mm-hmm.
This is generally not used on people pricing their houses too high. This is generally used when you kind of guarantee like certain outcomes. You know,
Right.
so
Like you feel like you can sell for more, so you built in incentives.
yep, you build in incentives. And that's when you go like, hey man, I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit too. For the first, you think your house should be listed at 300,000 and that's what it's gonna sell at. I think your house could sell for 350. I want to list it at 285 to get it to 350. I'll take zero commission on the first 300,000, but I'm gonna take a lot on that last 50K. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
and I think that that's a totally fair way to do it. Like if you know your market inside out and cold,
Right.
JF does this. Jared Frazier does this. He does structured listing agreements.
That's actually not. I mean, that's basically we call that incentive.
Yeah. I would
Right.
rather pay that. Like if I wanted to really make sure my agent was going to sell it, like and hustle and go like actually, do more
Yeah.
than put a stake in the ground. That's the kind of listing agreement I would want as a seller.
Yep. I mean, it's like, okay, like if it sells at 1 million, you get your whatever, you get paid. But if it sells at, 1.2, shoot, I'll give you 40 grand.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I like the risk incentive piece too. Like, if I'm coming in and going, listen, I know my stuff so cold, you won't pay me a dime until I prove that I'm absolutely right. Like, I like that kind of gangster. New agents shouldn't do that. But if you're in your market buying and selling, 50, 60 transaction sides a year, you should
Right.
know your market well enough to be able to.
So you would risk, even if there's no upfront financial risk, you would still risk your time and the sweat equity to list a overpriced home.
Not an overpriced home. No. So, going back to what we were talking about driving up prices. On that side, yeah, I would totally risk. But like I think what you do with that is, first of all, you've got to structure how the process is going to go, and then you just go like, listen, for every like I don't know how you would structure it in that way, like to list an overpriced home.
I mean, so think about
Yeah.
it. How far should we go to knock some sense into our dear clients? Because we're sitting here, we've already established the fact that you only get one shot at first impression, correct?
Yep.
So properly launching with the right marketing, right everything, including pricing, is critical.
Yep.
Yet now we're kind of contradicting ourselves, going, well, if the seller wants it higher, we will put certain things in place, including price reduction, which just brings it back to the original price that we should have gone, the right way, anyways.
Yeah, well, they did. Let's just test it out. Let's just see what happens on the market. You have to, as an agent, go, this is going to detrimentally affect you,
Right.
and you are going to make less money with this tactic. But here's the other side of it, Jay. At the end of the day, it is not our choice. And, if somebody's like egregious, right? Like $400,000 house, they want $800,000 for it. You should just walk away from that guy.
No, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But like, if somebody's 20% off, 15% off, like
you take you take a 400 and list it at 480? Dude.
I don't think I would.
Yeah, that's
I don't think I
steep.
would. I don't think I would. I might. I'm a greedy motherfucker.
That I know, but that is that. So I'm torn between how much needs to go into like educating the seller so that they understand this concept versus what's plan B, right? Okay,
Listen,
like I'll take the listing, but we have to come down in price in 2 weeks.
I don't think you say it like that. I don't think you say it like that. I think you go, I understand it. Like, and this is the pitch that I would do. I would do it at the kitchen counter where I did my best work. I'd say, here's the deal. I prepared a couple of CMAs today as we came in here. I'm looking around. Here's where I think you're at. And that's what, by the way, what I always do. If I didn't know the house, I'd actually just prepare multiple CMAs, like good, better, best, like outcomes.
Yep.
And then if it was like way outside the bounds on one side or the other, I go, hey, listen, here's my ballpark based on the research I did ahead of time, but like I can't give you a piece of paper. I'd slide it across and I go, here's where I think you end at if we price it right. And then I'd walk them through, and I'd always have a pricing pyramid with me. Have you ever seen the pricing pyramid?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. I'll send it to you. So the pricing pyramid looks like this. You've got a pyramid, it goes bottom all the way to the top. And imagine the pyramid filled with people at every level, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as you get closer to the top, there's less and less people until you're at the very tippy top and there's one person,
Mm-hmm.
right? You should be not aiming for the very tippy top of your pricing.
Because
if you go to the top, you only have one person that might want it, and you have to hope that they're looking right now. Right? And you don't want to go for just 2 or 3 because of the same problem. So you want to get into the slightly more crowded room that might give you the chance. And you just kind of explain, the lower you go here in this zone of comfort, the more likely you are to get multiple offers, which will drive up the price.
Right.
People fall in love with the house at the right price. They all of a sudden they start thinking it's their house, and they're willing to pay more for it than they would have been if you just listed it at that. Like, we've seen it 1,000 times.
Yep.
And there's also on the pricing pyramid the area of diminishing returns. You go too low and you will limit how much your house is worth. For instance, if you've got a $1.5 million value house, the house is worth 1.5, and maybe if you list it at 1.3, you might get 1.8. Very possible in Seattle. But it's not possible? Listing it at 500,000 and hoping to get more than $1 million. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? Just won't happen. It will not happen. You've capped yourself. Something's wrong. You've anchored everybody to a lower number. And the $1.8 million people aren't going to see it at 500,000 because they're not interested in peasant homes. Anyways, a $500,000 peasant home. But I think you go in and you explain that to him. And you go, now listen, I know that you want to be here. My recommendation is somewhere between here and here. And I think where we'll land is here, above where the pyramid ends. But if you are insistent upon that other price, let me tell you what's going to happen. We could do that, but here's how it's going to play out. Let me tell you an example of one of my other clients down the street. Or let me tell you an example of some sellers I beat the hell out of on the buy side because of that, right? Like I'm going to try to educate the heck out of them,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to give them the scenario they want and the one I think they should go with. And at the end of the day,
Right.
they get to choose. And you know what? Sometimes that sucks. I'll tell you where I won't do that, by the way, is the buy side. I used to be a fan of the whole like, oh, we'll give them a couple so they get tuned up and really learn. Towards the end of my career, I wasn't playing that game. Like I sat down with buyers, I walked them through the market, I walked them through my last few deals where I got a great deal for somebody, but we had to play the market game of like limiting contingencies and throwing them out in the middle and like doing all these things. And I set them up. You're going to do pre-inspections. When you find a house you love, you have to determine how much you love it ahead of time before we know anything about anybody else. Right? Like get them ready for all of those steps. We don't
Right.
do $5,000 increments on the escalation. We do $10,000 to $15,000. And if it's over $1 million, we do $15,000 to $20,000. We got to buy them a car. I used to say that to people. And if people weren't willing to do that, I didn't work with them. And I worked with so many investors. So at first that was really hard. And then it became way easier because I found the investors that were down with that.
So then, we're definitely on the side of still work with them, not walk away.
Work with them if we can.
I mean,
I think so.
That's such a you can't.
If you listen, if they go, no, you got to pay for pictures. No, I'm out. You're 10% over. 10% over. You don't want to work with me. You want to work with somebody that knows less than you about the real estate market because obviously you think I know less than you, and I'm not going to agree to that. I don't. I know more than
And
you,
obviously,
sir.
you're backing it up with comps. Like you're
Yeah.
not just making numbers out of thin air.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The amount of times, like I've talked to a seller of a real estate house, and they're like, "Well, this one down the street." I go, "Let's look at the one down the street."
You mean you mean the one that has the remodel bathroom from last year?
Like, listen, let's look at it. I mean, I've done that in a listing appointment too, where I knew I was going to have a hard time with somebody. So I printed the comp that they talked about a whole bunch, right? They talked about it on the phone. Oh, this one down the street just sold. Da, 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 da. By the way, it hadn't even sold all the way. It had just gone pending, and it hadn't gone pending for what it had listed for. Anyways, so you literally go in and have the talk, and they're like, well, I really think I can get this. And I go, let's do this. Let's talk about that one you keep talking about. Pull out the pictures. Here's their kitchen. Which kitchen do you think is better? Here's their bathroom. I saw your bathroom earlier. I'm going to be honest. I start nagging the hell out of this person. And eventually we drove it down. But like, I won't work with somebody who's going to like, if I don't feel that they think that I know more about real estate than they do, I wouldn't work with somebody. Now, I've never gotten to that point because I'm always educating customers. But if I ever got to work, I did on the buy side fire some clients who were like, no, I know better. Well, no, you don't. You don't.
If they're acting like they know more than you, then that would be tough to work with.
Yeah. Now, like, and here's how I got suckered into those couple more expensive listings. They said, I know, and I think you're probably right. I just wouldn't be able to live with myself if I listed this at a lower price. I don't think I can move forward, but I would really like to try to sell it X. Okay, we'll take a shot.
And then they're okay with the outcome that you
They've
explained?
got to be okay with the outcome. Yeah.
No. I mean, like they're like they heard you.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
At
Like I
least
said,
they're
I've never
honest.
had it on the listing side where I've walked away from somebody. Maybe should have once or twice. But buy side for sure. Walked away from plenty of people.
Well, now it's easier because hey, sign here. If you don't sign, we can't work.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was that. I mean, like, that part's easy for me. Like, it was always like I said, I worked with a lot of investors. I worked with a lot of guys, like, listen to Bigger Pockets, and they're like, well, we're just going to take shots at stuff on the MLS. I'm like, you're not fucking Amherst, my guy. You don't just get to take shots at stuff on the MLS all the day long unless you're going to pay me to do that. Like,
Right. And I love it. And this is on buy and sell side. Like, I love it when they, especially on the buy side, like, hey, let's just write an offer. See what happens.
yeah, sure. Would you like
Like-
that to be 5% over or 6% over?
Like the first time The first time I will allow that. Actually, I insist. When I was working with a first-time home buyer who's never written an offer, I would actually tell them, let's just write one for the heck of it, right? Because then you know how to, do the authentic sign process, and you know how to work the system, right? So, but then after that, like, there's no such thing as let's just try it and see what happens. Like, it's either you want this house or you don't.
Yeah, I used to do that. I stopped doing that. Though I actually really like the empathetic response of like, hey, I know this isn't like, you're not head over heels, but let's just write the offer. We don't even have to send it. Let's just get you practice. I actually really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped doing that. I was like, no.
Oh, the practice offer was definitely, especially
That's a
not just the
winning. That's
first
a
time
winner.
client,
First time buyer.
not just the first time client. Like,
Yeah.
I would do it with the first time client because, you never know. Like, it might have been 15, 20 years ago since last time they bought. Where,
Yeah, I
people
like
were
that. I do
faxing
like
stuff.
that. I don't
So it's
hate
like,
that.
like,
Yeah.
let's practice, right? And see how you feel about it. Um,
I like that.
yeah. I mean,
I like
because,
that.
at the end of the day, it's about how you different. Like, this whole thing came up because I saw a lot of, like, what do agents say when they go on listing appointment? Like, they'll all say, I care about your best interest.
Listen.
They will all say, like, I'm the hardest worker. And they will all say, I hate this. Your house is going to get listed in like 20 different places online. You don't do anything to do that. It's just done.
This
Right?
is why Listing Launchpad was such a cool product way back in the day. Right?
Trademark.
Trademark. It was such a cool product because, and that was my rant. That used to be my sales pitch to agents to use Listing Launchpad. Like, everybody says the same things. I'm going to treat you fair. I'm going to answer the phone. I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to work really hard for you. I'm going to get it put on the MLS and use professional photos, and we're going to list it all these places. I'm even going to send postcards to your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, congratulations. The bar's on the floor, bud. Just go ahead and step right over.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was doing anything different.
Right.
They weren't even reverse prospecting. Right, like, because in the MLS you can see if your home is in an agent's search for a client, and then you
Right.
could call that agent.
Yep.
I remember saying that at Remax Northwest. Oh, you should do a reverse prospect list to somebody's question, and the room of 40 really experienced agents looked at me like I was a freaking idiot. They're like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh, mind blown." So to do something where you're okay, we're not only going to do pictures, we're going to do an amazing video. We're going to do a single property website. We're going to put some ad money into it. In fact, we're going to get you more views on your single property website than you get on Zillow. Like, it's that kind of like, that's what you can do for people. That
Right.
and offer really, really good advice. Like, I think too many agents are just like trying to tell people what they want to hear. And I think, and then after they get them signed up, they're trying to tell them what to do.
Right.
And it needs to be reversed. We need to educate them up front, and then we need to let them make decisions, even if we don't fully agree with them.
Right.
It's not my job to make the
And
choice.
unfortunately, Listing Launchpad, at least as you know of it from the past, is no longer special because, like, everyone's kind of doing it.
Yeah, I know. I know. Such a good product.
That's why I've had to make multiples of different variations of, just
Yeah.
trying to get more attention, trying to get more eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of mind-boggling. Now we're off the tangent. So we'll close up our main topic of should you stick with it? More than likely stick with it. Just put parameters, right?
Yeah.
Don't walk away from it unless it's like stupid, like ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say when you should walk away from it, but if they're over by, I mean, it's hard to even put a number on it, but like, if they're not listening to you, you
Right.
have to get agreements ahead of time.
Right.
as to what you're going to do. And if at any point it's clear that they think they know more about real estate than you do, it's not going to work. It's not going to work out. Even if they close with you somehow, they're going to give you a bad review. They're not going to give you more
Mm,
clients. They're going to be a pain in the ass. And it's just not worth it. And that's really easy for somebody to say who doesn't, need the money. Really
right.
hard to say for somebody their first couple years in real estate. So yeah, it's
Cool.
a tough one.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll wrap that up around here.
Start doing
That
Wednesday
that
nights from here on out.
that was a good discussion. I think we are gonna do Wednesday night. Again, Monday, Tuesday, like prime. Dude, like yesterday, I was out. I was out till like sun doesn't set till like 9:15 out here, so it's rough.
Dude,
It's
it's so crazy. I miss that.
yep.
By the way, I totally miss walking outside at 9:30, and it's like, yo, it is still bright out.
Yeah. Yeah. So Monday, Tuesday definitely got to focus. But Wednesday, yeah, for sure. So we can do Wednesdays.
I like it. Let me
So
know if I need to come up to Seattle, help you get your new studio set up,
let's go.
figure
Let's
out your little
go.
line level issue.
Yeah. I think yeah, I'm gonna have a pretty decent. So for this one, I might actually document it, just to show people like, hey, like here's some of the things that you can do,
Oh,
how
that'd be
to,
cool. Yeah.
do basic setup like at home kind of stuff.
That'd be great.
So
That'd be great. There's not enough good content on how to set it up for a non-professional user.
right,
Plenty of
right,
information on how to set up your YouTube studio
right,
or how to like make your or like how to make your Zoom calls look a little bit better, but
right.
nowhere in between. The in between isn't there. Like what I do isn't there. Nobody really talks about like
Yeah,
spending
there's always got to be like the beginner, intermediate, and
yeah.
stupid, ridiculous, unnecessary, level kind of thing. But yeah, we'll touch up on that.
I love a
So
good studio tour
let's go.
YouTube video. All right, man. Well, you have a good
All
week,
right,
bro.
cool. We will chop it up in 2 weeks.
Peace.